We're ready. Hello. Hello and good evening. It is 6:03 on January the 29th, I believe it is. 27th, excuse me. Forgive me. 6:03 on January the 20th. And we are at our monthly tax forum. The meeting has been, or the forum, if you will, has been called to order at this time. I am here along with Councilmember Michael Carlson from District C. And we are in our community room because we have night court happening in council chambers. And so I'm here with a few of our citizens to conduct our monthly tax forum in which we are here available as a council to any member of our community that has ideas as relates to the issue of taxation in our city, that has any plans that they would like to bring forward to this council for us to consider. This is an open forum on taxation, and we are doing this because we want to hear from our community. We want to hear from you, our citizens, not only how you feel about the current tax rate, but if there are alternative ideas to help us to provide services for our community at a different tax rate, we want to hear those ideas. And so we're doing this every month, as we said earlier. Just wanted to remind you that our tax rate is roughly 55 cents. It has been 55 cents for the last 3 years. This will be the third year that it will be 55 cents. And we are moving forward as a council with that rate because we have, throughout our time of campaigning, throughout our time of visiting with different members of our community throughout our entire city, we heard more than any other request from our constituency that we want to feel safer. Our community has a desire to feel safer. And the council heard that desire. And the council invested taxpayer dollars into our community to bolster the efforts of our police department, among other things, to give our police department the tools they need. And these are not all of the tools they need, but as much of as investment as we possibly could provide. We invested in our police department with the plan of the outcome being a safer city. And that's why the majority of the talking points, if you will, that this council has is centered around Safe City, because the majority of the concern from our community was that we have a safer city. Now, factual information. Our tax rate, as I said before, remains at 55 cents. This tax rollback, if it is successful, will bring our tax rate down to 47 cents. So we would go from 55 cents to 47 cents. That is a loss of revenue of over $1 million. If we go from 55 cents to 47 cents, the loss of revenue will be over $1 million. Again, as I stated earlier, the vast majority of those investments of that $1 million were made toward the police department because of our concern for safety. And not only council's concern, as we said before, but the community's concern for safety. A couple of other things about the tax rate. that I want to share with you. Uh, let's go back and review this idea of whether or not we raise taxes. And let's be clear. The council did not raise our tax rate. The Galveston County Central Appraisal District raised our property values, which in turn raised our tax revenue. And so it's six one way or half a dozen the other. Some folks say we raised taxes. Other folks say we didn't raise taxes. The actual, uh, the truthful thought in that would be tax revenue was raised. And when tax revenue is raised over 3.5% year over year, this tax rollback petition mechanism is a remedy for the community to petition their government for a lower tax rate. And so it has been enshrined in the law. The law is not very old, and so there has not been many challenges to this law. But what this law does is it has the potential to handicap the improvements that a city can make. And I don't believe that it was designed to do that. I believe it was designed to cap municipalities from unreasonably raising taxes on their constituents. But we are caught in this tax rollback petition and this election that we will have in May, because our city's valuation grew tremendously over the past year, not by council action, but by Central Appraisal District's valuation of our properties. And that's important for us to know. The second thing that I wanted to share with you as relates to this issue is this idea that all of us, if this tax rollback is successful, all of us would go from 55 cents to 47 cents. That is simply not true. There are many members of our community that are over the age of 65, and they have requested and received tax freezes, which means that if you are over the age of 65 in our community, you can request a tax freeze. And if that request is granted, your tax rate will be frozen at the rate in which you receive the freeze. So for example, some of the members of our community had their taxes frozen at 49 cents when our tax rate was 49 cents. Some of them had their tax rates frozen when our tax rate was 51 cents. And some even had their tax rate frozen when our tax rate was 53 cents. Now, if your taxes were frozen at 49 cents or 51 cents, and this rollback election succeeds, then you won't go obviously from 55 to 47. You would go from wherever you are, 49 to 47, 51 to 47. And so the amount of monies that you would realize in savings would then be reduced. It'll be reduced. And so if you are at 49 cents and the tax rollback is approved by the voters, the city will lose over $1 million in revenue. That will impact our police department more than any other department we have. And then some of those same residents will receive tax savings of $3, $2 a month. And so essentially, many of our residents are they are putting their the best chance that they have at being safe in jeopardy for a small tax break. And that's not a spin, that's factual information. That is documented. You can go in and find those pieces of information and realize this for yourself. And so I want to be clear, not all of us will receive the same tax break. based on whether or not you received a tax freeze and what year you received that tax freeze in. Another area that I wanted to share with us, I wanted to go back over this idea that our council, perhaps even me as your mayor, that we are somehow fear mongering because we continue to focus this debate on safe city. And all taxation is expressed in service. As community members, we are taxed because our municipality has to provide services. And so if there is a tax cut, then consequently, there will be a reduction in service. If taxes are cut, services are reduced. That's common sense. Because the bulk of the new investments were made in our police department, it is our police department that will suffer the most. That's not spin, that's fact. You can go back and look at our budget workshops. You can go back and look at the final budget that we approved as council. Look at the minutes of those meetings, look at every discussion, and you'll find the council intentionally focused on budget, in our budget, on bolstering our ability to keep our citizens safe. That's not spin, that's fact. It's not fear mongering when there are shootings that are still happening in our city. On yesterday, there were 2 separate shootings in the city of Texas City where 2 of those residents in Texas City died and 1 resident was hospitalized from 2 shootings. A few weeks ago, we had a murder in our city that resulted from a stabbing. And we've had recently one of our banks to be robbed. Just this past week, there has been a few calls on social media about gunfire erupting in our city. This is not fear mongering. This is fact-based evidence that points toward our role as a community as it relates to keeping our city safe. It points to that role not being completed. Again, it's not fear, it's fact. We have to do everything in our power to keep our city safe. And I don't know where we would be able to replace $1 million and remain safe. And it's our job as your council to provide for you the best information and the observation and analysis of that information that we possibly can. The new investments in our police department, the new investments in our Safe City initiative through this budget is that we have a new deputy chief whose role is tactical and response-driven based on the immediate needs of our community. That person is hyper-focused on addressing the issues of crime and potential crime in our community. We also provided in this budget for a new detective because, as we said before, we have over 300 felonies and over 25 at least unsolved murders in our city, and it's not because our detectives aren't talented, it's because they only have 2 hands and they are outmanned. A deputy chief, a detective, a new narcotics detective, because we also have realized that the main driver of crime in our community is, in fact, drugs. The main vehicle for revenue generation for any gang member is drug trade. And so we've added a detective, an investigator, if you will, to our narcotics division. We've also added 2 new street crimes officers that will be responsible for making sure that we are addressing crime in real time, whether it be in a geographical way, whether the crime tends to be on the eastern or western portions of our city, whether it be crime that is different types of crime, larceny versus drug sales, drug trade. And so these 2 individuals will be responsible for a targeted response to address crime in a very targeted way. We've also added a social worker, or we're adding a social worker to our police department to not only help our officers with their day-to-day issues, but also and more importantly to those of us in the community, a social worker that would address some of the issues that we find when we are investigating crimes, when we're responding to crimes. There are families that are broken. There are communities that are broken. There are people that need help, that if we can intervene immediately, we might change the trajectory of that person or that family, and in an overall way, reduce crime. There are 10 new police cars because we have very credible reports that many of our police vehicles are in severe states of disrepair. And so that was important for us to have as well. And so the bulk of this new investment happens to be centered around our police department. And that's why we're saying to our citizens that if this tax rollback goes through, it would be devastating to our police department. They are already, right now, undermanned. They're already understaffed right now. Marque is a place that's a small town with big town or big city crime. And we have to make sure that we are matching the level of crime and the frequency of crime with a law enforcement community that is trained and compensated and equipped to do the job of keeping us safe. And at the end of the day, if you were one of those people that has the opportunity to have your taxes rolled back from 55 to 47, on a $150,000 house, that is about $10 a month. And believe me, that's a lot of money for us. Now, before you say that that's a lot of money, Mayor, I know it's a lot of money because your mayor, when I was a kid, I lived in public housing. And when I was a teenager, I lived in Section 8 housing, and there were many days that I went without meals, and many days that my family went without lights and water. And so I know what it means to be poor, and I know what it means to not have $10 to your name. But the debate for me is I have to know as a community member that I've done everything in my power to keep my family safe, to keep my neighbors safe, and to keep my community safe. And for me, that would be my advice to you as you deliberate through the rest of this time, trying to figure out whether or not you want to support this Safe City initiative and support what we're trying to do to keep us safe, or if you want to support a tax rollback. For me, it would be simple. Is $10 worth keeping my family safe? Is $10 worth keeping my neighbors safe? Is $10 worth keeping my community safe? And that's where it stands for me. And that's where I would hope that it would stand for you. We spend $10 on a lot of different things on a monthly basis. I wonder what our community would look like if we made the sacrifice of spending those same $10 and investing them in a safer city, investing them in a safer community. And the last thing I want to say is this. We live in a community of people from all walks of life. Marque is a very, very diverse community. We have people from all over this country and from different parts of this world. We have people that have a more affluency than others. We have blue collar people, we have white collar people in our community. We have doctors and we have ditch diggers, all in this great community. That means that we won't always agree. It's impossible for everybody in a community to agree. It's impossible for everybody in your house to agree. Most times it's impossible for you to agree with yourself. I want to encourage us tonight. Number one, it's okay to disagree. Our council has looked at the information. We have stood with 55 cents because we believe that this is what will make our city better. We believe that it will make us safer. That's all. That's all we believe. There are people in our community that believe that we should roll back taxes to 47 cents. And that's what they believe. And it's okay to believe that. They believe that this city can function at 47 cents and all of the problems that we have, right? Not just problems with crime, but problems with our streets, problems with our water system. Just on yesterday and for about a week, we had water pressure issues in the northeastern portions of our city. And it took us days to find that leak because much of our infrastructure is old. And our infrastructure is old because we have not replaced it. And we have not replaced it because we have not invested in its replacement. And we have not invested in its replacement because we have not financially made those commitments as a community. And so everywhere you go around the city of Marque and you find potholes and sewer leaks and water leaks and all of these issues, they are not signs that folks aren't doing their jobs. They are signs that us as citizens have not invested sufficiently. One pothole, two potholes are folks not doing their jobs. I'll give you that. Potholes on every street is a finance issue. Hundreds of sections of feet of water and sewer infrastructure being inadequate, broken, severed, busted. That's not people not doing their jobs. That's a city that has not been adequately funded. And so we have problems with our funding, but I said all that to say this. Even if we disagree, we're still neighbors. Even if we disagree, we still live in the same community. Even if we disagree, we still should have the same goal. And that should be to do whatever is necessary to move our city forward. What that doesn't look like is we don't agree, and therefore I feel the need to attack you. We don't agree, and therefore we are on somehow different sides of or different teams. There is no need to attack anyone in our city based on their belief system. There is no need to attack anyone in our city based on the side of this tax issue they fall upon. There's no need to attack anyone in our city based on their support or lack thereof of any other entity in our city. We can't attack each other. We can tear each other down, and then tomorrow we're still going to have the same issues. We're still going to be trying to prevent crime. We're still going to be trying to repair our sewers. We're still going to be trying to potholes on some of the worst streets in our city. Fighting one another changes nothing. Tearing one another down only makes the efforts to make our city better more difficult. The only way we are able to move forward in this city is together. It does not take attacking people. It does not take slander, slandering people, lying on people, libeling people. It doesn't take that to live in a community. That's not Lamar. It's not who we are. I came up in a time in Lamar politics with some tough politicians. When I got elected, it was Larry Crow was our mayor. James Osteen was our mayor pro tem. Hank Green was a council member of District D. Alpha Sheriff was a council member of District B. And these men were tough. And we didn't agree on everything. But we fought hard for our side. And when the vote was taken and the decision was made, we shook hands and we went about our way, supporting each other's right to disagree. Marque is not a place that we tear each other apart. Marque is not a place that we attack each other. Marque is a place that we figure it out together. Rough and tumble, passionate, intense, yes, all of that, because that's what politics is. Messy, of course. Democracy is messy. But we didn't attack one another. And I'm prayerful tonight that our city can move beyond attacks and move to a place that we can get back to the business at hand. What are we going to do to make our city better? And so, my friends, I leave you with this thought. If in fact there are more attacks, more libel, and more slander, ask yourself, when you hear that, or when you read it, social media, text, direct message, newspaper, when you hear it or when you read it, ask yourself this question: how is this going to make me safer? How is what this person said about this person, how is that going to repair my pothole? How is that going to keep our wastewater flowing properly? It won't. It's a distraction. And you and I need to focus on what we can do to make our city better. And you and I need to focus on what we can do to make our city safer. Now, having said that, there aren't any folks in our audience tonight that it looks like have any questions about our tax rate. I think we're all on the same page. And certainly these forums, again, I don't know if I said this before, but to my right is my friend from District C, Michael Carlson, is here with us tonight to answer questions, to have a discussion with you. But we'll have these discussions every month. And remember, if you have an idea, because here's the thing, we don't get to say, I think we need a tax rollback without also saying, and here's how I believe we can move this city forward despite a tax rollback. Did y'all see that? That's the discussion. It's not okay to simply say, I am in favor of a tax rollback. If there are those that are in favor of a tax rollback, you are welcome here tonight and any other night. The council wants to hear. Because if you're saying that, then you also are saying to us, and here's the plan, council. Here is the plan that will get us everything that we need at a lower tax rate. And if people are saying that they are against 55 cents, then they should give you a tax rate. I mean, they should give you, excuse me, they should give you a plan that would show how they are going to pay. The council has given you a plan. We've given you a 55-cent tax rate and we've passed a budget all in front of you. And if no one can show us how we get to safety at 47 cents, if they can't show you that, then you should be asking yourself, how is this going to keep me safe? My mother died in 2003. And if I could, I would give $120 a year so that I can have her near me. How much would you be willing to give to ensure that you and your family and your neighbors are safe? Now, we thank you for listening. I'm going to ask Chief Argon to play this, have Kyle play this this response here tonight on channel 16 and make it available on social media, because I want you to share this throughout the community. Again, we're not angry. We're not fighting. That's not us. That's not your council. We're simply trying to move this city forward. Anyway, thank you for your time. We will see you all on next time. God bless you, and God bless the city of